What up, world? Welcome back to Three the Hard Way TV. The quarantine edition continues because I don't want to be around, different niggas coughing on me and shit. 6 feet. On today's show, we talking financial literacy in the Black community, and today we have the beautiful Rashida joining us. We have the beautiful Tiffany joining us. And back again, she survived and wanted to come back. We got the beautiful Juanita joining us. And of course, my brother, all the way from Arizona, Real. And the triple OG dropping the knowledge, Derek. And ladies, you know who I am. On today's show, as I said, we're discussing financial literacy in the Black community and why it's important, why it's not important. We all gonna give our views. We gonna debate it, and see who wins or loses or sounds like they know how to save some money. Miss McGee.
Yes.
What are your points on?
Okay, so we're not starting with a question. We're just gonna start with our topic, our points of view on it. Okay. Yeah. I think a lot of the issues that our Black community face deal with financial literacy. For one, we want to blame a lot of the things that's happening to our community on the other man or the white man or whatever label he has now. But I think have we focus a little bit more on some of the things that we can do to empower our finances, we can empower our community, starting with savings. The first thing you hear a lot of people say is, well, I'm just making ends meet. So how can I actually save anything in order to prepare for, a just in case scenario? Well, those are the same people that are buying Jordans or have $1,000 phone or stopping at McDonald's every night. There are a lot of things that you can do to save. And I'm not saying that, things or times don't get hard, but I say that our focus as a community is on the wrong thing. And I always bring up this analogy is that our forefathers, our grandparents had way less than what we did, but they accomplished way more. How many Black educational systems did they build? How many hospitals did they build? How many professional equipped Black people did they turn out? Even when we couldn't even go into the white schools, they sent themselves and their children to school because they pooled their resources. So I think our focus is wrong, especially in our community, especially with the younger generation. Our focus is on looking good instead of learning something that actually we can pass on to our kids about financial literacy.
Right.
That's my take.
Juanita.
Well, I'm agree with her on several things. I feel like as Black people, we were not always afforded the same things that other races were. And it's not an excuse, but I think some of our financial literacy is a learned behavior. Some of our parents and grandparents didn't grow up with somebody showing them or teaching them, the way. So it kind of trickled down. And not to say that you can't go out and learn it and get the information, but some people just don't have that in them or maybe just don't want it. And as far as the younger generation, I feel like the millennials or whatever, the 30 and younger, their parents are so focused on trying to give them what they didn't have.
You're a millennial, right?
I mean, the younger millennials, what they call them, the Gen Y, whatever they call them.
Generation X.
They post millennials. Yeah.
Generation X.
Them folks, okay? Them folks. Their parents were so busy trying to give them what they didn't have. So they want you to look good. They want you to have the Jordans. They feel like that is a statement of like making it somewhere. Instead of teaching them how to go out and get it, teaching them how to save, teaching them that a pair of Jordans does not equivalent that you have made it. And I think it's just they sending the wrong message, and it's more so about the show than they really have going on. And it's it's just unfortunate, but it's been trickling down as it's going on probably for the last 10, 15 years. And these kids are just so lost now because the parents that they have, 30s and up, are just trying to make up for something that they didn't have. So
I agree.
that's my thing.
Miss Tiffany Marie.
I agree as well with the two previous views. A lot of the times, like families, parents, people that are older than us, they don't teach these things. We're not learning it in schools. Kids aren't learning it. So it's like, where do you get this from unless you go out and do like the research on your own, unless you're interested in learning about financial literacy. And a lot of the time, a lot of us, we're living in the now and not thinking about the future. We're not saving for the future. We're not thinking about long term. We're not thinking about, for example, like right now situation, what if I lose my job? We're just living in the now. So we're not even saving for situations like this that we're in now. So it's just really like essential that we really put these things into perspective and consider situations like this that may occur.
Okay. Real.
Let's see. So I think that a lot of the times we think that those people who buy Jordans and stuff like that, I really don't feel like there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of the times I think people just don't really know what finances mean. Like people don't know what a dollar really means. Money ain't meant to be spent, it's meant to make it work for you. And I think people don't know how to make money work for them. And a lot of times we see people buy this stuff, and it is a statement. Even if you go far back as slavery, you know what I'm saying? If you was in the field and I was in the house, what you wanted? To get in the house. So that's the same complex that we're dealing with today in our inner cities. If I buy Jordan and got a nice car, you want it. That's gonna always be there. We fashionable people. But I think we don't know how to make money work. And I don't think that people don't want to do it. I just think they miseducated on it. Like some people just don't really know. So all they know is spending. People don't even know how to do financial analysis on themselves. Like they don't even know where their money going. Me, I'm in the financial services field, and I sit down with families and I say, at the end of the month, how much money you got left? And they say, I should have like $1,000 left. But I say, how much money you got in the bank? They say, I got zero. So we sit down and figure out where they money at, and then we show where they spending their money, and they be surprised that they spending this much money on stuff. I done sat down with people who spend $90 a day on fast food, but they didn't think it was that bad. They going out to eat for breakfast, they going out to eat for lunch, and then they going out to eat for dinner. On average, we know 2 to 3 people, that's at least $30 a day. So if you spending $90 every day, that's where your money going. So people first need to learn how much, because most of them I sat down with too, somebody said, I make $40,000 a year. I say, do you really make that much? And they really thought they did. Not count taxes, insurance, all that stuff. So it's about educating people first. And I think a lot of the times we just miseducated. Like somebody go get a job and they say, oh, I'm gonna pay you $15 an hour. And they thinking they make that when really they make $11.25 because they gotta pay Uncle Sam. And then another thing is like, there's no way that people could save themselves into financial freedom. You can't. I don't care how much money you think you can save. You can't save yourself. You got to figure out ways to make that money work for you. And I'm going to start right there. And then on the second go round, I'm going to get some more points.
Okay, well, I'm going to go before Derek because I'm one of those people, like, I like my Jordans. You know what I'm saying? I like looking fashionable. I like going out and spending my money. I like buying new caps and all of that other stuff when I come outside. But I'm also one of those people that like to save my money, you know. So I have a good balance with both because I'm thinking in the long term now. If 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I had the same mindset I had now, I would be amazing. You know what I'm saying? I like shit. I think that I would be fucking rich, just honestly, in my personal opinion, because at the rate I'm saving money, like even when I'm working every day, so I'm saving money. So my job is like, you put in 5%, they match you 5% or something like that. I put 12% in my shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go above and beyond mine so that I know that at the same time when I'm going to buy that pair of Jordans, you know, not every month or every 2 months, you know, maybe like 4 or 5 times out the year when I get a pair of shoes that I really want or something like that, I know that I have money going towards other things. I'm also buying stock. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm teaching other people how to buy stock. I'm teaching them how to sign up. I'm teaching them you know, shares and dividends and market shares and different things like that. As I learn, I'm teaching other people. But at the same time, while I'm showing these people these valuable tools that I'm learning, some of my people are looking at me like I'm fucking nuts. Like, what are you talking
Don't
about?
know how to receive it.
Like, I'm not gonna give somebody, you know, I can show them a stock and I say, okay, this stock is projected to be one of the next big things. It's a gamble. No more than you going to the casino or shooting craps on the corner, or walking around with $1,000 in your pocket and somebody rob you. I'm willing to take my gamble and put it into a financial structured, you know, stable place in the stock market. Hope it grows. If it doesn't grow, so be it, because I know I wasted money on all type of other shit. So we gotta wake up, and I'm still gonna fucking, you still gonna catch me outside with my $300 pair of Nikes on. It's not gonna fucking stop. And if I feel like I want to go to, goddamn it, the restaurant 3 times a day, I'm gonna go in that motherfucker. I'm gonna get me some McDonald's for breakfast. I'm gonna get me a motherfucking hoagie for lunch, and I'm gonna buy me some chicken wings for dinner. But at the same time, I'm not one of those people where I'm trying to get the most expensive things. It's a $10 t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? I'm going online and I'm looking for the sales and different things like that. The shoes just the only thing I'm buying at market price. So I'm not a dummy by a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mind can't teach what the mind don't know.
Right.
So when we're looking at financial literacy, that goes in different ways. So economics, definition of economics is the exchange of goods and services. So when we're talking about being educated on what financial literacy are, we have to begin to think about how credit works, right? Understanding how student loans work, how to get affordable education, like starting off as a junior college where you can get some of the education free, opposed to going straight into the university, then you leaving out owing $100,000 debt. So we are taught to get education in those terms, far as like being in academia, opposed to, you know, getting a degree in applied science. Then when you're talking about financial literacy, we are not talking about what is a budget sheet, what is a balance sheet, how to calculate interest charges, because, you know, in many cases, that's how we get into further debt by the interest. We're paying off the interest before we even pay off the principal. So once we begin to educate ourselves on those things, then we will get better. But I believe that a lot of people do not take financial literacy seriously, because in our community, in the Black community, we tend to shame those who don't know. So the people who know, a lot of times we shame those for making poor decisions or making informed decisions. And so even though if I do increase my credit score, whether I'm able to get a house, all I'm doing is just still paying the bank. The bank's still just making money off of something that I'm working hard for. They get their percentage, and they can come back and get that house too. So we need to be clear on those things as well, right? In addition to having the savings, I do have a savings. I do have a banking account, but I don't believe that my savings account is going to build me any wealth. So I have to begin to learn how to invest wisely, invest in some of those stocks. And I might have to, you know, I think with us, some of the things what's important is for us to begin to develop an economic base, whereas we began to practice group economics, whereas each individual began to put a little money into a pool, and we began to purchase some properties, resell them, or invest in stocks and things of that nature. Then now that can trickle down on to others, but we begin to start with our families and our friends. But we cannot shame people for what they don't know, because the mind can't teach what the mind don't know.
Right. And right here, while we doing this conversation, Miss McGee, you are a homeowner. Miss Juanita is a homeowner, and Miss Tiffany is now has purchased a restaurant and renting out your property or whatever it is that you got going on. And could you ladies speak to some of those steps that it took for you to be able to do that, and the do's and the don'ts and the rights and the wrongs and things of that nature, that the steps on that journey where it took you to get there?
Well, shit, how long is your show? Oh, I'm sorry. You better do a whole lot.
Keep it brief now.
I would say just go versus renting versus owning your own home. Like, what's the difference and the benefits of it?
Taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, to just be real about it, I mean, the only, outside of the comfort of knowing that if I continue to make these monthly payments, this is mine. Outside of a renter's location where it's never yours, it's someone else's. Honestly, owning your home, outside of the benefits of just the personal gratification of being in your own space, it somewhat is harder to be a homeowner than it is a renter, because when everything that potentially can happen in the house falls on you and your pocket, it makes it that much more harder, honestly, to me personally. So I can't speak for everybody else. Some of the steps, I mean, I applied for, well, let's go back first off. I believe in academia. So I went to school. I got the degrees. I went that way, and it was expressed to me at a young age, keep your name, because at the end of the day, that's all you have. So even though I had to ride the student loans and the credit card to get the degrees that I have, it was the very first thing that I focused on when I had a full-time job, was to build my name back up. So it took efforts of not going on trips and not getting the Jordans or not doing this, and this to say, hey, I can put a couple of $100 more on this credit card that I had to use while in school to get that clear. So my name did mean something. So as far as, I guess, the differences to me personally was the assurance that it was mine. I think financially wise, it's a hell of a lot more expensive to own your own home than it is to rent it, because if something happens, you call the landlord, hey, you need to come fix this. Whereas I have to figure out, if the plumbing's messed up, how to get that fixed. Not to say it's a bad thing, but it is more stressful. It is more expensive. So I'm not telling people not to do it. Just be conscious of what you're stepping into when you're looking for home ownerships. I mean, it's not that hard to get a loan if you have a solid financial background. You have a job, a decent credit score at this point, not even a good one, because they're willing to give you some money, a decent credit score, and you found a property that you like. That's basically a nutshell of what you need to get a house loan now. I mean, so I don't know if I answered your question or not, but that's my take.
Okay. You making me want to be homeless right now. Go ahead, Juanita.
Okay, as far as the whole renting, owning thing, I totally get what she's saying. It can be more expensive to be a homeowner, but some of the perks of that is real estate taxes. When you go to file them taxes, you got a lot of stuff you write off. You end up getting a lot of the money back if you did any type of home improvements on your place. So you do end up getting a lot more money back for taxes. So I do love that part. And with the renting, like she said, it's not yours. You're gonna always have to worry about what your landlord wants you doing, what your neighbor snitching on you doing, who you can have there, how long. It's all types of little things like that. But I think for me, what took me to get to where I was, I grew up in a family where, I hate to say it was a lot of strong women. I didn't have a lot of men, in our family.
They
But
drove them away.
women,
They drove them away.
Hey, if you got good sense, you will stick with
They
you a
should have been able
strong
to
woman,
hang.
okay?
Okay.
Exactly. If you got good sense, you stick with you a strong woman, okay? But you know, watching my mother and my grandmother, my grandmother for one, at like, I don't know, maybe I was 17, 18, she put me on one of her credit cards, okay? So for me, when I got to 20, 22, 23, my credit score was 700, you know, out the gate, because she put me on a credit card. She made me authorized user. So she didn't necessarily have to help me financially, but her just doing that, and that's another thing that Black people don't know, that a lot of other races do for their children. They help them get their credit up at a young age, so they're able to get these things. Okay, so I bought my first house at 24 years old. Okay, I had, you know, post office, TSP, you know about it, Dion. Like he said, putting money into a fund and they matching it. And it's a lot of programs out here right now. You know, there's been our last couple years. NACA, you can go through there, you can get you a house, no money down. Renting a house, you could be paying 50, especially in the market right now, 2-bedroom, $1,500. You can have your whole 3-bedroom house with a yard, with a shed in the back, with a finished full basement for the same thing, not having to worry about nobody telling you when you got to get out and everything like that. And also, something that I, you know, really didn't want to do until just recently when I bought this house. This is my second property, actually. Warranties. You know, Black folks, we don't believe in warranties, okay? You get a home warranty, anything that break down in your house, you pay a $65 copay, they gonna come fix it or replace it.
I believe in warranties. I got a warranty on my Xbox, my PlayStation,
Yeah.
all of
So
that
you
stuff.
can get you a warranty under everything in your house, cost you $500 for the year. That's worth the investment. So if you take the time to do the research to get your credit score where it is, put a little money away, I mean, to put that down payment down, or find the programs that are going to give you the first time. I did real estate too, so I know, you know, kind of both sides. So find the programs that are going to give you the money down for the first time buyer. You know, make you a good investment like that. And you know, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. It'll be worth that peace of mind, and it'll be, you know, worth that tax break at the, you know, the beginning of the year next year. You get that little change back, you know. So I like it, you know.
Okay, Tiffany, speak to us about your you know, your restaurant situation, renting, owning, the best move for you.
So I'm currently renting a 1,500 square foot space for a restaurant. As of right now, I think that would be the best option for me as a new business owner, because I'm just getting into it. I'm not sure if that's where I want to stay. So I don't want to make a big purchase and buy at the time, because I don't know if my restaurant is going to be there for however many years. Some of the steps that I took to get to be able to, I guess, afford the restaurant, to be able to make that big step, because it's a really big financial decision. I had to make sacrifices. I had to cut certain things down. I had to cut down at one point, get my hair done. I had to learn how to do it myself. Shopping, clothes, shoes, things of that nature. It's just like certain sacrifices that you have to make in order to be able to save and be able to get something to help you in your future. Because the reason why I got my restaurant is so that I can I won't have to basically work for anybody and have to be able to make my own money. And eventually I do want to purchase a space, more so a space that has more than one unit in it, so that I can rent out to other people, which would be good for revenue as well. So I won't have to pay rent to pay for my own space to other people who are renting the property. They'll be basically paying for the space itself. But it just takes a lot of sacrifices, I believe, to be able to save up money. And it's not about how much you save. As long as you're saving something, I think that's what matters. A lot of people, they think that, oh, I can't save this, because they're thinking of big numbers. You know, I can't put up 1,000, I can't put up 2,000. But I mean, you put up what you have. You got $50, put that up. You got 75, put that up every week. Whatever it is that you got, you just save.
Okay.
Go ahead, Derek.
I mean, I want to condemn. I mean, I want to commend the young ladies. I think y'all some powerful women, but I'm just gonna speak a little truth to power. So, on a personal note, I believe that owning a home is great. And I guess it depends on what region of the country you stay in. But somewhere like Chicago, I'm more inclined to invest in some rental property and things of that nature to generate that revenue. But truth to power is, as long as we have a mortgage, then we don't own anything. As long as we paying taxes, we really don't own it. That's why we have 15, 20-year mortgage. So, I mean, it's good to think in those terms. So that's why I always think in the terms of investing money to allow it to work for me. So, I mean, I think owning a home, now I wouldn't own a home here in Chicago, maybe in the South. That's something I do because of, like I said, of different geographical location. But in the city, I'd be more inclined to purchase property to rent because, we still gonna have a mortgage. So, I mean, I do some financial coaching. I do a lot of different types of things. So, but I think that's the key there is learning how to invest and let your money work for you.
Okay. I'm gonna go before you, real.
Go ahead.
See, I was thinking about the property thing as well. I was thinking really long. I was thinking really hard. I have right now. I have X amount of dollars saved up, like where I could go out and buy, hell, maybe 2 properties where somebody has defaulted on the taxes or something like that, and I have the money set aside for those things. So right now, I personally thought about buying a house, and I'm looking at like 200,000, 250,000. I feel like at this moment, the best decision for me would be to go buy something where someone couldn't pay those taxes, but the property is paid for. Get a small loan from the bank, repay that back, and then rent that property out so that I can make money, so I can start generating money for myself, so I don't have something hanging over my head for 20, 30 years. I'm not against anyone getting if you feel like a mortgage and you want that comfort, that's what you want. Some people buy used cars, some people buy new cars. You know what I'm saying? I can't fault anybody for doing what they want to do, but I know that the goal that I'm trying to reach for me and my 5 children is to make money. So I'm making money so that way I can pass that down to them, and they say, God damn it, my daddy was on this shit. He was an asshole sometimes, but this nigga set me up right. You know what I'm saying? So I want to do those type of things where I can accumulate 7, 8, 10, 15 properties and just split it up here. These your 2 sons, these your 2 daughter. You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. So that's what I'm striving for right now. That's my goal. And another thing, like Juanita was talking about, I don't know if it was Juanita or if it was Rashida, y'all was talking about the family thing and the way the families help each other. I talked about that with people, and Black people are so quick to want their independence. But when you look at Asian people, you look at the Mexicans, they will live together for 10 years until everybody has saved their goal and went out and bought that property where somebody owed the taxes, rehab it, and rent it out, and then they spread it out. But we don't want to do that. We just want to rent and go give a motherfucker our money, man.
Yeah.
Right. So my brother Dion, he know that me and him, we always talk, and I always tell him like we got to buy these properties. I know like some hot markets and stuff. I actually own a house that I lived in, and then I rented. The reason why I can't buy a house because I don't like to live in one place. I'm from Chicago. I moved to Wisconsin. I left there, moved to Arizona. I'm on my way up out of here. So I wouldn't buy a house because I like to jump around. Now my next location, my wife, she want to stay there, so we might end up staying there. But me and him talk all the time about buying property. But I'm a big believer in buying property and rent it out just to create a cash flow. And then another thing I believe in, like my whole goal is to set up the next generation. Like my daughter, she's 10, and I teach her about financial literacy all the time, how money work, what you need to do with it and all that. But my goal is to set up the next generation. And I think that's where we miss the beat in our communities is that, so we already kind of born behind the 8 ball or whatever people want to say, or white people got us put down. So one of the easiest ways I believe, and a lot of people are afraid to do this, but one of the easiest ways I believe is to set your family up for something you didn't have, is to have life insurance. Like,
Oh, for sure.
we all go leave this place, right? So if I leave right now today $1 million to my daughter, I ain't have a penny when I was born, but to her, she'll be set up and just stuff I done taught her alone, and hopefully she make great decisions going forward. But something that small is so important, because how many of us have lost family members, and we don't want people to die just to inherit money, but we know they gonna die anyway, right? Everybody can't go out and buy a house. Everybody ain't fortunate enough to.
Or how many times somebody in our family has died, and then we have to set up a GoFundMe or get a collection together to bury their bum ass because they couldn't pay for life insurance.
Yeah, or something like that. And even like like we as Black people, a lot of us, I ain't gonna say everybody, we think we gonna live forever, and we think we gonna be young forever. So a lot of us don't even think about getting it. And like one of the ladies said, I forget, she was like, you got car insurance and cell phone insurance, but no life insurance, right? So why not, like you said, I think it was Juanita or somebody said, you trying to buy your kids everything you didn't have instead of teaching them stuff you didn't know. So why not set that next generation up? Because unless we break that family curse of the same stuff going over and over, people getting jobs, working till they die. They tell us get a job and work how many ever years, right? So you become 18 and you work till you 65. The life expectancy is 70. That's kind of the reason why I stopped believing in buying a house and wanted to buy at the rent. Because you figure if the average person buy a house at 30, and you get a 30-year mortgage, and you die at 70, you never was free. You know what I'm saying? So I started thinking, like, how can we make our money work for us? And I think that's a big thing, is like, how do we make the money that we make actually work? Like, it's good to put our money in the bank and stuff, but it's just really sitting there. So the bank making money off the money we put there, but what are we making? So yeah, it's still good to put money in the bank, but we need to figure out ways to create where our money is working for us while we sleep. Over here making percentage on investments and all type of stuff like that.
Personally, I think it's really about where you're at in life as well, because priorities change. And as going through college, my priority was to get my education. But after getting my education, then my priorities change. So I totally agree with, everybody's point that, there's nothing wrong with getting a certain thing or reaching a certain goal that you want, whether it's materialistic or if it's house or hell, getting a new boob job. It's basically up to you to strive. The point I guess I'm trying to make is to have a goal. I mean, a lot of our people suffer, in my opinion, because we have no direction. And we just kind of out here allowing life to dictate to us which way we want to go. And I guess for those who don't have an option or don't have an influence in their life, that's fine. But I feel like maybe if we had some goals set, and that, something that we could work towards, you have a lot of the younger generation, and not even the younger generation, a lot of our people in general working towards something. Now, I can say home ownership, the White House, the picket fence, the dog, half a kid or whatever it is was my goal. And that's fine. Where someone else may be into the investments, into the flipping the houses, whatever. So I'm not here to knock anybody's point. All I'm just saying is that we suffer so much because we allow people to tell us what our money is going to do. The stimulus check that they just sent out, how many of us put $100 up of that money?
How many of us did? How many of us didn't get one?
Well, maybe the better question is why.
Yeah, why?
So
we're talking financial literacy. Why didn't you get a federal check?
They don't like me. It's because I'm Black.
Well, that's another, Lord have mercy. But my point of the whole topic is, maybe if we had some goals and you had some people who were, like you said, willing to pool their resources, then maybe we could achieve something. It's just, I think personally, a lot of us just out here living. They feel like, life is going to dictate the next step, and okay, whatever the hell that goes left to the right, I'm going to roll with it. Well, others of us have things that we're working towards, and that's what we see, whether good or bad. This is what I'm going to go after, hell or high water. This is what I'm going to achieve. So maybe it's the person, maybe not just what they know or what they've been exposed to. Maybe it's just some want it and some don't really care about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I always say that too. Like what she was saying is, like a lot of people wake up by accident. Like they just going
Yeah.
on about life, and like you said, the goal thing is like really important, and it is dependent on where you come from. Because me and Dion, we actually come from the same block, and it's like for me, it was like I refuse to go back to that. Like I refuse to go back to that. So that always been in the back of my mind, pushing me like I can't go back to that. And it is kind of like affected because in where we grew up at, you know, everybody wore Jordan. Remember, it was one lady, we ain't gonna say her name, but she had like 7 kids, and they would be the freshest kids in the neighborhood. And one day we went in their house, they didn't even have
No
beds, furniture, nothing.
Crazy.
But they had tons of clothes and shoes, and we were just like, wow, like it was just eye opening. Like, you know what I'm saying? You think you got less than because you can't get that,
Priorities.
but you go in there and you like, what the hell? So
Right, I always had a bed to sleep in.
And some beans in the pot. I'm sorry, but I
beans in the pot.
grandma fed you beans and some hog necks or whatever you might call it, but we ate every night. So I mean, and I agree with you. Your upbringings have a lot to do with the human that you are now. Some of us didn't have the ground when we were kids, so you weren't exposed to what it was to be like to eat beans every night. So you know you didn't want to do that as a grown person.
No,
So
that's not
hey.
necessarily true, because I know some people that came from two parent homes where the mother and the father was outstanding citizens, owned property and everything, and they are in prison. They are
Hey, Dion.
selling pussy. You know what I'm saying?
not the majority.
I'm just saying it happens.
Hey, those beans was
I mean,
like pork and beans that Dion
I
used to eat.
I just think when we look at the word literacy, when we think about the word literacy, we're talking about knowledge and information. So everybody don't have an opportunity to get information or knowledge, or some of us just misinformed. So once again, I don't think that we can even, I don't think none of us have the authority to say who got goals and who don't have goals. We have absolutely no idea what people think about every day or what they're exposed to. And we know in the Black community, a lot of our people, they're experiencing trauma. Some of it is vicariously, and we know that we have a generational wealth gap between Blacks and others. So I think we have to inform ourselves first, for those of us who came into some type of knowledge and information, and quit shaming those people who may not have goals. Because the same way we see those people, we feel like we're doing well off, we know there's other and millions of people doing a hell of a lot better than us, and they look at us as insignificant. So
well, I'm not shaming anybody. I mean,
okay,
don't
but
get
I
me
mean,
wrong.
you keep mentioning that people don't have goals. Maybe they don't have goals. So my point is, I'm just saying we need to be cautious because we don't know what anybody have. I just think that some people, they may not be as privileged as to getting information in a timely fashion as others. So we have to be willing to reach out to those individuals, opposed to, you know, just making blanket indictments.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to maybe agree but disagree on this point, because I feel like in the communities and the areas that I grew up in, as you said, the information wasn't readily available to anybody. Okay, so there wasn't exactly somebody who was telling me, hey, you need to keep outside of family. Let me put the environment. The environment wasn't telling me, hey, you need to do this, hey, do this, do this. So it was upon me and my family structure to instill that. But I guess my thing is, if two of us in the same community, in the same house raised by the same two people, can go left and right, I don't necessarily feel like it's my responsibility to cover you if you decide not to pursue your goal. Now, if you come to me and say, hey, can you help me? And I'm at a place where I can provide assistance, then okay, that's my choice. But I don't have a responsibility, because we share the same race, to take care of it. And I'm not going to feel bad because you chose left and I chose right.
But when we speaking as a collective, so my point is, we're talking about Black people, financial literacy in the Black community, and we talking as a collective. It's not so much if a person chose left or chose right. My father couldn't read or write, and we own property. I own land today that he passed down to me. You kind of follow me? And him and my mother was separated for years, but when he did separate with her, he left me something. So my point is that as a collective, we're talking about as a collective, as Black people as a collective, a lot of us don't have those opportunities to get that information, because we know there's a lot of systemic issues that's going on that's going to prevent us from getting the knowledge and for us to become organized and informed whether it be going through the school system or whatever system you choose to go through. It's a systematic problem. It's not just a problem, a choice of a question of choice or goals or motivation. It's more of a systemic issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. One thing, like I use myself for example. One thing I noticed when I got older was that like I always, me and Dion talk about this, and we always say Black community, and I'll be like, we really don't got a Black community. Where we grew up, I'm gonna use that area. None of us own the houses. None of us own the stores. None of us own the beauty salons. Not the schools. Not the banks. So we didn't see anybody owning anything. And fast forward all my life, I kept living in apartments, and I'm like, everybody be like, why you don't buy a house? You got money, right? And I'm like, this when I was younger, before I knew all this. And I thought back, it's because I lived in apartments my whole life, and every single person I knew lived in an apartment. And in our community, nobody owned anything. It was everybody lived in those apartments. We just recycled blocks, moved to this block, moved to that block. And sometimes I think like outside of your normal consciousness, it's kind of programmed. You ain't seeing it unless you seek out the knowledge. Like what's her name? Rashida. Yeah.
Oh, Rashida.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, like Rashida,
like,
right? Yeah, because your name ain't us. Like Rashida and Derek both were saying, like they both kind of right. And unless you seek out the knowledge yourself and then come back and share it, it's kind of hard. Because when we was younger, nobody told us anything about anything. Like it was just, okay, you 18, get out there.
Well, I'm you know, you right to a certain degree, but I remember when I was 15 years old, Derek explaining stuff to me about saving money and telling me to put money to the side and different things like that. Now, not saying that I listened,
because you didn't.
but I remember my uncle telling me to save money and something about. I remember one time you was telling me something about saving money in a savings account is you better off putting it under the mattress or something like that.
Right. But just think when we grew up, right? Just think about it, where we grew up.
But that was so long ago, I still remember that though.
Outside of baby sister now, right? Who owned anything else? Like everybody we knew pretty much lived in apartment buildings that we stayed in.
I mean, and we got to keep in mind too that, you know, when my mother and father came up here in the 60s and they came to West Garfield and later moved to North Lawndale, you had what you call redlining, where blacks wasn't allowed to own things, and every time they tried to own them, they were being double priced. They were being double priced the rent. They were being double priced certain properties, and redlining where the bank will refuse to sell to certain individuals from certain segments of the community, and then they would have secret covenants saying, hey, if you sell to these blacks, then your property value is going to go down. So a lot of us didn't have a choice to even purchase property, you know, as well. So we also got to keep in mind, look at things from a historical context and keep those in mind. Even if you look at the VAs and you look at the veteran, when all them European boys, they came back from war, they got the low interest loans and things like that, when they were able to buy property. All the black men who went to war, they didn't get those same loans. So we also have to keep in mind those different systemics and those situations that put us backwards for many years, because it's not because in many cases for a lack of effort or trying, it's because every time we try to do something, then there were actual laws on the table. So now look them up. So I'm not talking about, okay, where the white man holding us down and stuff like that. The law said that they held us down. So look at the law and see what it said, how the banks conspired with the real estate companies, and how, you know, when you look at 60, 66, 67, when Martin Luther King came to North Lawndale, that was one of the reasons, because blacks couldn't get affordable housing that was very safe and sanitized. So that's what the protest was about when they came to live on 16th Street. That's why we had the King legacy. So a lot of things were just denied to us anyway. And this is why we're 30, 40 years behind. And after, you know, the late 70s, then you had those other races came in and swooped in and bought all the properties. So that's why you have 95% of other races owning the properties in the community. So it's not because they're so smart, it's because systemically, a lot of us wasn't allowed to buy those properties and pass them down to our children to build that generational wealth. So I think that's why we have to be educated on all levels today and understand when we see people in the community and they going through certain things, this is why they think that way, because they don't believe they have opportunity to grow anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's all boiling back down to educating. Go ahead.
Here's my Republican point of view.
Huh?
What's your Republican point of view?
Oh, Republican point of, oh, you talking to me?
She got something to say.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
Let it out.
No, because I'm finna get hung up on.
No, you're not. Come on, that's what we about on Through the Highway.
That's what this is. Hey, you
want all point of views.
You said before I press record, you wanted a fight. Now you got it.
She came to rumble.
That's what she said, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep it PG. So understanding what we were subjected to during those times, or during the 60s, the 70s, redlining, like Derek, your uncle just spoke about, the prejudices, the hidden agenda, the Tuskegee experiment, all of the things that the black people in America have been subjected to. We are fully aware of what they have done to us, still doing to us, and the ramifications of what they did to mentally, how they still have us kind of handicapped in America. But my question is,
not us, y'all.
Whatever. But given that, why do we continuously allow what we know to be happening to continuously hold us down now? If I know somebody dislikes me because I'm Black, then do I sit there and say, you know what, I'm not going to even try, because I know my skin color is going to block me from anything or going this way or going that way? Or do I say, you know what, fuck that, I'm going to figure out a way to get to point A, knowing that we have white men B, white men C, the police, institutional racism, all of these things set up against us to achieve what we want in this life. I get so tired of just defending the point that true, we have been giving the lead, we had the lead cut off. We've had to run the very same race. But if we continuously give the reason we're behind the blockage to getting to the next level, we will never get anything accomplished. It seems like every time you get into these conversations, well, you know what they did to us, slavery still got us handicapped, the cops is doing this to orange man is doing this to us. Come on, y'all. We know what they doing. And you don't even have to be fake woke. But when are we going to say, you know what? I see what you're doing, but I'm going to pull resources in whatever manner I can to get what I have to do, even if I have to go to the drug dealer. And I'm not even condoning, but if I have to go outside the law to get to where I need to get what I want, why we don't do that?
Well, I mean,
why do we continuously allow white people to dictate to us what we're going to do?
Stop saying we, say y'all.
So I just want to say, as a community activist and community advocate, I have made plenty of trips down to Springfield and helped get certain laws passed to work with specifically those men and women who disenfranchised, whether it be unfair housing or helping, giving them relief from their criminal record. I have been an advocate for those individuals who facing mental health issues. I currently work with over 200 men and women right now, and I provide them with financial literacy. I provide them with computer literacy skills, and I also provide them with job readiness skills, and I'm also a mental health professor. So there's a lot to be done. So I don't think we're just saying, sitting back and saying, okay, the white man did this and did that to us. But we also had to take in the fact that from a historical standpoint, if you take a deck of cards and, each deck of cards, if we playing spades, and if I'm getting all 13 spades every time, then nobody else is going to win. If I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to pick out the 13 spades, this is my deck, and you just play the hand that you dealt with, right? So then now, as the game go on, after you begin to win all the money, you say, okay, well, fuck, I'm going to play fair now. but it's been like, okay, but it's been, you know, the last 40, 60 years. So I don't think that we're saying that we let anything to handicap us, but I'm saying we need to understand why those situations are the way they are, and that's the only way we'll be able to overcome. Because if you don't understand the purpose of something, then how would you begin to use it?
I don't think there's a person on this phone, and I'm not going to make this personal towards you or whatever. And I applaud your, you know, what you're doing in the community, but your type of empowerment, your type of investing into your community isn't really seen in the generations after you. Now, there are some that'll go out there and they'll do that work and they'll pour into their brothers and their sisters or whatever. But for the norm, our generation after you pretty much said it's about me and my family. Now, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. But a lot of that, we the people, Black Panther Party, let's lift the whole race, kind of really died out after you. What I see when we go into the communities today, I'm just telling you what I'm saying. I'm in the Deep South. I see a lot of people who fake woke, fake conscious, saying that, you know what, I'm for the Black people until it knocks them in their door. Whereas in your household, where the white cops are coming to your house, interrogating you for this, and this, and this, and this, and I'm thinking I'm going to the left. But all I'm saying is that I feel like as a people, we continuously use what the white man did to us and is doing to us as a handicap, instead of beating this mug at his own game. I see what you're doing. Let's work together to go around you, through you, above you, under you, and don't accept no as an answer. Understanding where we came from and what they continuously do to us.
Look, I'm not gonna say what you're saying is wrong, Rashida, because it isn't. I agree with you, and I'm not gonna say what Derek is saying is wrong either. But the fact of the matter is that he who forget, I don't want to sound like George Bush, but he who forgets his past is doomed to repeat it. So we can't forget that stuff happened. We can't kind of like keep a side eye on it and think that it's still going on. We still have to believe that it's happening, but we also got to do what you say and try to achieve that goal of getting to point A. But we cannot forget about the shit that was going on before. We just can't forget about it. I just can't wake up one day and say, oh, fuck that shit that happened in the 60s. That shit wasn't me.
Right. I agree. I think Rashida and Derek is right in the sense of like what Derek's saying that happened back then, and you know how Rashida just said like his generation, that's how they felt, but the next generation said it's about me and my family. Those are the ramifications of what they did to Derek's generation turn to us, where we saying, okay, well, it's about me. And I was gonna ask this question: do we think that a lot of people that know about financial literacy, and I know Derek, you doing your stuff back in the community, but a lot of us who know about it get out and get some form of success. We really don't go back and educate them or even really care. We just know we gone and we kind of just off to ourselves. We don't really go back and pull the next man up.
Well, look, that I'm gonna say that's not true again too, because
I ask you, do you think that?
Oh no, I don't think that, because I not often, but I take my dollars and go to the strip club and make sure those young ladies have something to eat. You know what I'm saying? That they able to feed their children and different things like that.
Is that strip club on Londale 16th? No, it's not. So you ain't doing nothing for the community. Those on the KOD. That's not down there, man.
Those are Black women.
Real. I mean, so real. I mean, this is what I would say when it comes to financial literacy. I know we got a lot of great Black accountants and stuff like that. We got a lot of men and women who they're good and they smart on investing in stock. But I think that, as an individual, as collective, from us as Black people, I think we have developed a sense where if we don't trust them, that kind of makes sense. So instead of me going to you and I'm going to pay you to do my taxes, I'll pay somebody else. Or instead of me, going to a Black real estate agent, I'm going to go to a white real estate agent. You kind of see what I'm saying? So they said that
we don't support each other enough.
Right.
In the Black
For example, they say that in the Black community, They said the dollar reach our hand one time and it's gone. But they other communities usually circulate, 9, 10 times before we even leave that community. And one of the reasons is because we don't own those properties. We're not investing in each other. We don't trust each other enough to purchase from each other, and we begin to hate on each other. Well, I'm not shopping with them. Oh, they think they this, they think they that. So I think that we have to begin to develop a trust, and we have to earn trust too. So we just can't expect people to trust us. We have to earn people trust too. We have to be willing to trust because, on a psychological level, we sometimes may say, okay, well, I'm gonna go over here to this store because it's closer. So the black store is further down. So we like convenience. You kind of follow me? Yeah. So I think we have to learn how to get back uncomfortable. So we didn't became too complacent and too comfortable. Just going. That's why we go purchase the bad food. So okay, well, I'm just gonna go to Leamington knowing the food is no good for us instead of going the extra mile. So I think we have to begin to stop looking for instant gratification, be willing to run that marathon instead of just trying to run a sprint all the time.
Okay. I agree with that definitely, and I think also that just listening to you, Derek, and like I'm gonna just compare the generations. I think it's a like a disconnect between two generations. Like the knowledge you got and the knowledge we got, like, and we connect on the same levels, but like somebody else, like they won't seek out a person like you because they think it's a disconnect there. So like, my little nephew, he 21, he feel like he know everything. He could just, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that on my own. He not seeking the wisdom from his family and the elders that could tell him, to kind of guide him in the right way. And like Dion said, to know his history and to move forward. But he just rather do it on his own, like Rashida was saying, rather just do it on his own and fail on his own. And I think it's a disconnect in that, when me and Dion, when we was young, Derek told us a lot of stuff, showed us stuff all while we was out there. So we learned a lot from him back then, but how many people didn't really have that? Or, the older generation, like whatever, or the younger generation, like skip that. So I think that's a big problem too, is the disconnect between that. Because a lot of young people in these neighborhoods have money. Like you were saying, see the drug dealers or whatever they doing, they got money. People on fans only, whatever. They got money, but they don't know what to do with it. So they just spending it. So they don't even know what to do with it. They just spending it, and they not looking for somebody who an elder in the family or somebody who know what's going on and what to do with that money. They just, I'm gonna just spend this. I can make it back again next month. And before you look up, you done spent $5,000-$10,000 in 2 or 3 months with nothing to show for it.
Right. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up because we've been running a very long time. I'm just gonna, go around and we start with Tiffany. You give your final words and your final tips. So we go ahead and wrap this up.
I'm overall in agreement with pretty much what everybody else was saying about we not educated enough. It's pretty much about if you want to, get into it and learn about it, or if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. Pretty much, that's what it is. I would just encourage people to save more. Like I said earlier, think of the future, think of long term. Don't think about today, but you got to think about savings and family, money that you can pass down to your children.
Juanita.
Basically, I feel like the culture, I can see the culture changing as far as the support. I feel like we do see a lot more of Black people kind of waking up, realizing that we do need to invest our money into our own people. However, like they said, we do have to build that trust up within each other. And at the same time, with the younger generation that's growing up, they come in with so much entitlement that I feel like they're not even willing to receive or know how to receive like assistance from, Derek or myself or, anybody else that is willing to give it to them. They're not really understanding or willing to receive it. They just want to give it to them. So I feel like it's going to be harder going forward with the younger generation. But it's going to take like our generation to push that knowledge, to set up those life insurance, those savings accounts, to purchase those properties, so we can put some of our children at an advantage. and give them the opportunity. Now, whether they have the smarts or the know-how or the willing to do the work, that's what they're gonna struggle with. But I do see a lot of us trying to make that change. So I feel like we definitely will be getting to that financial literacy, but it's gonna take some more work.
Okay, Rashida.
I would just say, first off, establish a goal. I mean, I would say establish a goal first, and don't let anything stop you from achieving that goal, whether it's financial literacy or whatever it is. And I mean anything. If it's something that you're truly passionate about and you know in your deep heart that you want it, achieve it at all costs. That's it.
Even if it's a pair of Jordans.
If that's your goal in life and that's what you feel like,
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure.
Don't get one, get 12.
Hey, them fries came out the other day.
Hell no, that costs too much. Okay, well, I'm gonna piggyback on everybody else, and I agree 100%. Just set your boundaries, know your limits. You know, don't try to overextend yourself. You know, that's part of the financial literacy. Don't try to do too much too fast. You know, take it easy. Like Derek said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You know, so take it easy and don't stress yourself out.
Don't forget that health is wealth. That's the first part. Stop going to McDonald's, Dion. Double
I think we just
cheeseburger.
want to make sure that, you know, we can
he
make
froze.
progress.
Oh.
He ain't froze. He just stood there.
I
mean, I think we can make progress, but we got to continue to be willing to have these tough conversations. So we're not willing to have tough conversations, then we'll never be able to get other people's perspectives on things to be willing to change our mind. You know, like the young lady talked about, you know, setting goals, you know, and not allow our past experience to, you know, cripple us. So how do we begin to have these conversations so we could talk about, hey, what happened to our past, but let's not allow that to cripple us, and let's not shame people. And you know, we come together, because sometimes we have to keep teaching over and over again. So I think we have to begin figure out how can we bring all these thoughts together, and then, you know, kind of like present it to some of the masses. We know everybody's not going to get it, so I'm not like on some type of crusade to save the world, but you know, I think that as intelligent people, we should be able to come together and share some of our experience and pass it on to others. So I'm willing to collaborate with anybody who's willing to collaborate with me.
Right. And to piggyback off him, my last thoughts is, I was going to say that also, I agree that this panel was excellent in some of the points they made. And it just showed me that so many different levels of people, and all of us had our own way of thinking with financial literacy, and we could reach all people on different levels, each one of us. So how do we bring this type of thing to those inner cities to educate those people? That's what we need more of.
Okay.
Put it in the church.
What?
That's where they spend their money at.
I'm muting your ass.
They give their money to the church. Hey, they give the money to the church.
I'm muting your ass.
I'm trying to go to the church and get a loan.
Maybe they should start teaching that in the churches.
Can the church give me a 0.07%?
Don't get on Jesus.
It's
I didn't say Jesus. I said the church.
It's all, somebody always know how to end this show, goddammit. We want to thank y'all for watching. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button, that notification. New shows coming soon. Juanita, Rashida, Tiffany, Derek, Rio, of Dion. Thank y'all for watching.
All right.
So do we hang up?